Running our own business isn't easy, and it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And on ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things just that little bit easier by interviewing guests who have been where you are now, regardless of where you are on the scale-up journey, and maybe facing some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked well for them, as well as what didn't, of course. And we've also combined many of these lessons into a practical scale-up handbook called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And there's details of this at the end of the episode. So welcome to ScaleUp Radio. So welcome to another episode of ScaleUp Radio. I'm delighted to have with me today Kelly Maxwell, who is the founder and director of Kelly's Heroes Private Tuition. So Kelly, welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's great. And so am I. So tell me about, there's a clue in the name, I guess, but tell me about Kelly's Heroes.
So we have quite a lot of services at the minute. The core, we're sort of bread and butter is private tuition. We're based on Lowfell and Gateshead, and we offer one-to-one tuition. We cover maths, English and science to children all the way from nursery all the way through to year 11. So, we hit all them important exam times. As well as that, during the day, we're classed as an alternative education provision. So children that can't attend school because of anxiety, whether they've been in hospital for a long time, and that's funded through schools and local councils. So they attend our centre and we become their provision for education. So we're helping not just children who are in school, but also children that aren't able to get into school for so many reasons.
Brilliant. And what got you into that in the first place?
Initially, so I was a teacher in a school and I loved it, absolutely loved it. But I found the class sizes were getting bigger and bigger. And because of that, you couldn't give everything that you wanted to every single child. And every child's so different. It's really hard to pitch one lesson to all of them different needs, all of them different abilities, all those different learners, because we're all learning different ways. And I was finding more and more, because I care so much about everybody and I want the best for everybody. And it was the same with the children in the class. And I found that the days were so long, I was trying so hard to get around every child. I felt like I wasn't giving everything I could. And, schools aren't changing. It's the way it is. The teachers are absolutely amazing for what they do and all that workload. But for me, I just thought I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, sitting here just trying. I want to actually make a difference. So it was really interesting, actually, because I just decided to leave. I had nothing to go to. I hadn't even thought of the idea for this business. I thought, right, that's it. I'm handing me notice in, I'm going. So I handed it in, and I remember we'd just gone back in the September, and it must have only been about 2 weeks later I made this decision. But with teaching, you can't just leave, like normal jobs, you kind of leave after 4 weeks. You've got to do the full term. So it was Christmas I left. And I remember when I left, it was lovely. Everyone was so nice. And then in the January, everyone went back to school. And I was sitting there thinking, what have I done? Like, what have I done? I've left a full-time job. I've left the stability. I've left all of this. And now I'm sitting here with nothing. So I thought, what can I do? So I thought, right, I can start private tuition. So my mum and dad, bless them, they're amazing. I made some leaflets and they went round the doors and just put them through doors. No. And then I was thinking, is this going to work? I think a lot of every business owner, I think, has that like doubt, don't they? Is this actually going to work? And it's that worry, isn't it? I think we're all the same. So I'm a worrier anyway, so I was exactly there. And then I remember I got my first student and I went to their house and I was all excited and I had my bag packed with like my whiteboard and the iPad and all of that. And they were lovely. And then they recommended me to someone else, and then they recommended me. And then before I knew it, it kind of snowballed to the point where I was so full on a night time, Monday to Friday nights, traveling in between these houses. I thought, I can't keep this up, because one, I'm struggling to fit everybody in at the time, and I thought there's got to be a better way. So I decided to get an office, just in like an office block, the ones where you pay for and everything's included, just to test the water, to see if people would come to me. And then they did. So then I didn't have that time in between. Okay. of traveling so I could have more students. And then that was really busy, and then that was packed. So I started working all day Saturday, and it was great because I built up this really good reputation and everyone was recommending, but I'm only one person. There's only so much you could do, isn't there?
Yeah, and that so a lot of that at that early stage was based on you and that particular relationship and your way of approaching it. So yeah, so how did you break out of that?
So I decided, when I was in that office, it was so small, you could fit one desk in, but I look back and that place was so special because it was the first place that I'd opened. So I decided to open in the same building. I moved to a bigger office to see what would happen. And then I was able to offer workshops as well. So as along with the private tuition during the holidays and things, I do because with Kelly's Heroes, it's all about mindfulness and confidence and self-esteem. And I want that to be a real focus of what we do. So I was able to offer them, which was brilliant. And then it was actually my mum, because the doors used to lock at 5:30. And I was on the second floor. Honestly, I got my steps in though, I tell you. I was running up and down and open the door to let all these students in constantly. So my mum was like, you need your own front door, which you think your own front door, but it was so true. I needed a door that people could just come in and out no matter what time we're open or closed. So I started just having a look, really. And I went to see this place on the Team Valley, and the woman showed us round. She was like, this is lovely, but I've got somewhere that I think you're really going to like, but it's just coming up on the market. And then she brought me here to Low Fell, and it was literally floorboards. There was nothing on the walls. There was no kitchen. There was no toilets. But I could just see the vision. And I was like, this is the place. This is it. And then with that, I've been able to take on more staff. So we've got 10 members of staff now. And that's what happened within 3 years. So it's grown very quickly. And I think the visibility of Low Fell, because we're on the main street, it's brought in so many more students. And because I'm all about that confidence and self-esteem and mindfulness, it's attracted so many families. But then within that, schools have really taken notice of what we do and how much we can help. So those children that really struggle can now access their education here. So it's all kind of just snowballed very quickly. And now I'm here.
Is it all hours, or is it still largely evening? How does that?
No, yeah, we're 9 till 9, Monday to Thursday, and then 9 till 4 on a Friday.
Okay, great. So fast forward now to today, we've got 10 members of staff. How many students then are you looking after roughly?
A week, I would probably say we're averaging around 200 students a week now.
Gosh, all right, excellent. And how does and you mentioned the mindfulness and the confidence. Is that what you would say differentiates you from other private tuition that's out there?
Yes, definitely. When you come into Kelly's Heroes Centre, it's really, really unique. There's nothing like us around in the Northeast. We've got like a tropical terrace outside. We've got sort of like a leafy wall over here. We've got a graffiti wall in the back. We've got, like clouds on the ceiling and everything. It's really different, and it's very calming and relaxing, because I don't want children to struggle in school and then come here and feel the same way. I want it to be completely different, so they don't have those anxieties. And having that calm and relaxing environment, it makes a massive difference. And it's so lovely seeing them all flourish because of the environment we've created here.
Great. And how does the business model work? Do they simply buy packages of hours, or how does it work?
Again, I try to be very different as well. So for us, I don't want this to be another stress for families. We have a Kelly's Heroes app. So for the private students on a night time, they book when they want. It's completely up to them. If they've got things going on, they don't book in. It's not you have to have this session so many hours, this many weeks. We can say if they want advice on how long do you think it'll take for it to get there and this, that and the other, and we'll always give guidance, but it's then down to parents. So they can think, oh, we've got this going on, because families are so busy. They can then just go on the app and just book when they want the sessions and when they think it's beneficial.
And how do you manage that? That must make life a bit difficult for you, trying to coordinate the ad hoc bookings.
You know what? It's really not. It's the opposite. It was when I didn't used to have a booking system. Right. So I'd have like pages and pages of students and, here, there and everywhere. But because everything's on the app, everything's integrated. So everyone's calendars are integrated. Payments are through Stripe, so we don't have to manage any payments. Everyone's calendars, everyone's availability is on there. So it all just syncs up itself. So it's actually saved admin so many hours, which is great.
Great. So did you develop that as a bespoke app, or was that something you took off the shelf?
Yeah, well, initially I had done quite a bit of research actually in apps because I'm not tech savvy at all. I'm the opposite. I love a bit of paper and a pen. It's my favourite thing. So to find an app was just like another world. So I did quite a lot of research, got some quotes for a bespoke app, all of that sort of thing. And then we found Styler, they're called. And it's lovely because the woman who owns Styler, she's from the Northeast. So, supporting that Northeast business. And basically, we pay them a subscription and they've tailored this app to us. So it looks like a bespoke app, but really it's through a subscription model. It's fantastic. So I'd recommend Styler to anybody.
Very good. Very good. And at what point of the business transition did you invest in that system then?
Not long ago, actually, because before that we used Bookio, which was great, but because it was online, it was a little bit tricky for people on their phones and things like that. So we wanted something really user-friendly, somewhere where we can also sell our products as well, like CGP books. So I only invested in Styler about 4 months ago, but it's really transformed the business, having the app. It just looks a lot more professional.
Great. Good. So I want to go back a little bit to that transition from when you were maxed out on your own, doing it, and it was you, to then trying to replicate yourself and having other people and still keeping the feel and the standards and the Kelly feel, the Kelly culture and everything. Talk us through some of the things you did there and some of the challenges that you had then.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of challenges because I'd never been a manager in my life. I'd always been, I started as a teacher. I'd only been teaching 4 or 5 years at this point when I left. So I'd never had any management experience. So it's been a lot of mistakes and a lot of trial and error, which I think I always take them as positives because you learn quite a lot from them. Yep. So initially I decided when I first got this place, and it was huge and it was just me, and I was thinking, right, what do we need to do here? I thought I need to get someone on admin to begin with to take that off me so I can focus on the teaching to save me a few hours there. Yeah. So I got an apprentice and she was fantastic. She was really, really good. She was so lovely. And that helped me a lot because it helped me build up my management skills, but in a very, very small, just one member of staff. Yeah. And so I'd taken this place on in the November of 2020. I took on the apprentice in January of 21, and then I took on my first teacher of March 21, Amanda. And what I found, again, because I hadn't been in this position before, I thought, right, okay, so we take on this teacher. I need this teacher to do what I do. So what I did initially, and I do think it was worthwhile, I paid that teacher to literally sit and watch me teach.
Okay, yeah.
Because I feel like that's the best way to learn, so you can see, because we have a very specific way of teaching here in that very relaxed, very bubbly, very friendly way. Yeah. It's hard to explain that to someone, but if they can physically see me doing it, they know what to expect. So with Amanda, she always said that was amazing for her because every school's different. Every school has certain standards and this, that, and the other. So to be able to see from the business owner what they want from you in teaching, that really helped her. And, she's still with me now. She's absolutely fantastic. And I think that came down to her being able to see what I can do, and then she can replicate that with her students.
Great. And is that something you've done with all of the other people that have come on board as well?
Yeah, so as other teachers have came on board, it's not always me that will then observe, because all these other teachers that have taken on are all brilliant, and because they've seen either me teach or Amanda or Katie, for example, she's fantastic as well. They can then see what we expect. I mean, I always say it's a very relaxed approach to teaching, but you'll get the most out of them because then the students aren't stressed. And I think taking that worry away, because I think a lot of teachers come in here and they're like, what about this? What about this? They're all on high alert because of schools, because that's the way you've got to be. And yes, we do everything we need to do, but I want it just nice and calm and nice and relaxing. So I think they start to take these walls down and they start to see that it's the teaching that matters, not the paperwork, it's the teaching. And I think once they get in that mindset and they see me teach Katie teach, they see the feel of it, because we're always sort of in and out of each other's lessons, saying hello, popping in. And it's lovely. It's become this sort of family-like atmosphere here, which is something I've always wanted.
Great. And how do you keep that? What sort of things do you do to make sure then that carries on and you really keep that culture?
Yeah, it's a question I get asked a lot, because I think the culture here is really good. And I know a lot of business owners do say that, but we are all very close here. So I think for us, we do a lot of sort of team building where we'll go out for meals, we'll go out for drinks. I always like to show my appreciation to them. It's something that I think is the most important thing. So they feel appreciated. So they want to do more and they want to do the best, because they know it's thanked and they know that what they're doing is making an impact. So we do a lot of that. We do a lot of sort of, just getting together, getting ideas. I never, ever make a decision in this business without speaking to everybody first, which I know a lot of business owners are like, no, I'm in charge, I make the decision. I'm the opposite. Yeah. I want everybody to be part of it, because it's not just me that it matters to, it's them, it's their workplace as well. So making sure that we're all on board and we're all agree, to me, means so much, because I know that I've got their backing and they've always got my backing. So group decisions and group discussions, I think, are the most important part.
Very good. So, and you've now got quite a lot of business to manage here. You've talked about the technology, which has helped, the app and everything on the booking side, but you've got 10 of you teaching, and couple of hundred students in the week. So how are you managing now some of the business activities that need to be done? Is it all down to you? Are you still teaching a lot, or how are you managing that?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a sort of 2 to 3 year plan for the business and where I want to be in that business. Okay. And for me, it's definitely taken that step back. I love teaching, so it's not something I'd ever stop completely, because it's so important to me. And I think having members of staff, it's important for them to see that I'm also doing the day-to-day and I understand it and I'm also living it. So that's the plan eventually, to still kind of do a bit of the teaching, but a lot of the running the business, especially as it's grown so quickly. At the minute, I still do a lot of teaching, a lot of it. But I do think that's, I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm very grateful that I'm in this position where I've got all of these students that want sessions with me. So I've never whinge about it or complain about it, because I'm very grateful for it. And I will get there. This is what I always say, because this is why I always like to hear from other business owners, because hearing what they've been through and how they've managed it, I think it's great. It's great to see that, and it's great to hear it as well, because sometimes you can be in your own head a little bit, can't you, and not knowing what the right next step is. But that's definitely the plan. I was, say, 3 years ago, teaching Monday to Saturday. That's not something I do now. I teach Monday to Friday during the day, and then I teach 3 nights a week. So I've still got a couple of nights. I am starting in January a dyslexia assessor course, so that we can then offer that as well. So the plan for me will be to be able to offer that while I've got all these amazing teachers doing the majority of the teaching.
So where do you, that sounds almost like, more than full-time. So how do you find time to actually manage the business and do all the things that you need to do from a business administration point of view?
I mean, I've got 2 admin girls who are absolutely amazing. And I think because everybody is so clear in what they need to do, it's very, I've set the standards, they know exactly what they need to do, they know how it needs to be done. I feel like because everyone's been trained so well, I don't have to manage, so to speak. Okay. Because everyone can sort of manage their own time and their own students, and the admin girls, they know exactly what they need to do and they get on, and they know they can always come to me if they need anything. It can be difficult. Let's not lie. It can be. Last year, for example, when I was doing so much of the teaching, it was starting to wear us down. And it's difficult, isn't it? It's where do you draw the line, where are the boundaries? And that's something I've had to really work on this year, because I've been used to saying yes to everything.
Okay.
This year, I've had to say no. It's not, saying yes isn't always the right thing, and you've got to think about your own well-being. And last year, I made that decision to drop the teaching hours, just so that I was giving the best that I could to everybody, but also to myself. And I think that's important. Yeah,
very good. I'm interested, again, going back to that transition from being on your own to now having premises. Initially you had office in a serviced office building, and then you've taken on your own office. What other things did you need to change about the way you did business? What other challenges did you have other than managing more people?
There's been a lot of challenges, I would say, in business. Things don't always go the way you want them to, or you hope that they do. I mean, a couple of years ago, I opened a second centre in Ponteland. And I remember at the time thinking, brilliant, right, I'm on this train, let's go for it. I was in that little world, where you think you're unstoppable. Yeah. And I was like, right, I'm opening it. At this point, I was already spread very thin, but I decided another office was a good idea. And I found very quickly I had not planned well enough at all. I just was like, yeah, let's open it, let's go. But really, I hadn't taken the time to think about all the finances. I hadn't thought about who'd even been teaching there. I'd be thinking me. But then I was thinking, well, I'm teaching at Low Fell all the time. I just assumed I would find something. So I was literally in this, like, I think everyone gets to a point where they think they're a bit invincible. They think, oh, it's all going so well, let's just keep going. And Ponteland was great, it was fab, but I didn't have the teachers for it. So I managed to get a couple of teachers, but it still wasn't enough for the amount of students that started to come through the door. And it all became a bit overwhelming. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, I had a break closing after a year and a half, thankfully. And I thought, I can keep going, or I can really focus on Low Fell and, take back a bit of time for myself, be there for the team when they need me, and put everything into this fantastic place that we've got here, rather than just trying to bring on another centre just for the sake of it. Yeah. So, and I, people go, oh, do you regret it? And I think, no, I really don't, because it was a really good learning curve for me. It took me from me just thinking, oh, this is all great. It took us to a real business owner, as I say. Yeah. These hardships really do teach you what you need in life. And I learned so much from that. Although it was difficult, it was still really, really beneficial, because it taught me so much more about the finances of the business, the staffing of the business, everything that we need, because then we needed double for everything, because what I wanted at Low Fell, I had to replicate at Ponteland. Yeah. So it was really expensive. So I did learn a lot from that experience. And although it didn't work out the way I wanted to, it was definitely beneficial in the long run, especially now, because now I've been able to put all of me back to Low Fell. And now I'm looking at how do I expand it. And it's been great, because now we've sort of tripled our turnover in the last 3 years, and the rest because of me being back at Low Fell and just focusing on that one.
Yeah, very good learnings there. And I imagine anyway as well, just going from running the business on your own to then taking on premises, did you have to think about your pricing at that point? Because you would have originally priced without any real overheads in the business. Did you have to think about anything there?
Yeah, so when I first took on Low Fell, I kept all the prices the same. And then everything started going up. So then I had to start putting the prices up. And then last year we had to add VAT onto it. Yeah. So I didn't increase the prices last year because of the VAT that was added. And again, before that, I was just sort of guessing what I'd put these prices at. I was just, having these numbers. That's what I used to charge when I went to the house. So this is what I'm charging now. And I didn't think about finances as much as I do now. I'm very aware of every single thing because of the learnings I've taken from Ponteland. And at the minute, we're in the middle of a transition of, if you want me, you're going to have to pay more money.
Wow.
It's a difficult one, but because when people see that I've got a slot free, they'll go, oh, I want the business owner. It's like going to Tony Guy for your hair. If you know Tony Guy's going to do your hair, you're going to book it with them. So I think having that premium price around it will mean the students that do really want me can have me. And then the students that are happy to be with other tutors will then go to the other tutors, just so that those students can have that priority and have the booking that they want, rather than just Kelly's free, I'll take her because she's the business owner, which again is not an easy decision. And, I've sat down with your business advisor and everything to go through all of this. And I know it's the right decision now moving forward.
Very good. And likewise, do you have hours within the day that are more in demand than others?
When it comes to, say, the private students on a night time, Mondays and Tuesdays always the busiest. Not sure why. I think it's just clubs and stuff, the way it works out. When it comes to day students, it's always the afternoons that are busier because the mornings are a bit early for some of the teenagers.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's sometimes another way to build a premium differentiation within the business is to when you've got demand on particular hours, it's okay, well, you can book at that time, but that costs more than if you book in the morning or something like that.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. All these are good ideas.
Yeah, it's another way of helping to even out your time and the demand, as well as essentially bringing in a slightly premium level of pricing without it being particularly a price increase across the board. So,
yeah, fabulous.
Very good. Excellent. So, and you went through all of this at one point. You went through COVID, presumably.
Yeah, I did.
So that you've got a model which basically is sitting in front of people. So how did that affect you?
It really did. At this point, I was in the serviced office, just so I only had me at this point. And I remember it was the week before lockdown and I decided to stop face-to-face tuition because I thought it's not safe. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on. I can't put students in this position or families or anything, because no one knew what was going on. So what I did was I actually just sent everyone that was booked in, all the parents, I just sent them a message to say it'll still go ahead, but it'll be on Skype. I was waiting for the parents to be like, it's okay, we'll just leave it. Not one of them did.
Wow.
So I know. So now we offer online tuition as a service that I would never have offered beforehand.
Yeah. Excellent. Very good. So actually you've been able to slightly tweak your model. And then of course that gives a bit more flexibility on the constraint, if there's a constraint in the building size in terms of the number of rooms you might have. And it is really good because a lot of families travel quite far to come here from Middlesbrough, everywhere, and sometimes things are just happening, so they'll just get in touch and say, can we just have it on Skype tonight? So it adds to that flexibility that again I wouldn't have had beforehand. And then as COVID went on and children were out of school for longer and longer, we started to get inundated with more messages of people wanting tuition because parents had to work. It was so difficult for them all. Great. So you mentioned one of the challenges, certainly with the second site, was finding good teachers. So how do you've talked us through how you go about making sure that once you've got somebody on board that they understand the way that you deliver and the way that Kelly's Heroes behave, if you like. How do you go about identifying or finding and then making sure that you've found a good teacher at the beginning before you perhaps even hired them?
So for me, I always have to meet them face to face. It's a given. A lot of people will do sort of telephone interviews and all that sort of thing. I don't do any of that because I want to see them here. I want to see what they're like. I want to see how they interact. And I like it to always be at a time when there's students in and there's other teachers in. Because for me, I get a really good sense of the person straight away, how they come into the building. They always say first impressions count. And for me, it's one of the major things. Because if they come in really quiet and they're not, they feel uncomfortable. And I know people are nervous, so I always take that into consideration. But for us, it's all about who we are. We're really bubbly. We're all really loud. And families love that because we'll chat to everybody. It doesn't matter whose student they are. We'll know everything about them and we'll lock it all up here. So they'll come in and we'll go, how was the tournament? Or how was that? It doesn't matter whose student it is. So all those little things really matter. So I need to see how they're going to interact in the centre before I even ask them any questions. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah. From then, I'll then have just a chat with them. I literally just have a chat with them just to see how they kind of bounce off me. Because if I think they're bouncing well, I think, they'll be great. And then I'll ask another teacher just to pop in. This is me little thing, pop in. Just to pretend to ask me something. I'm giving all my secrets away here. But just to then see how they'll interact with that other member of staff. Okay. Because again, if they're just sitting there like, hi, and then that's sort of it, I know this isn't the right place for them. I need that bubbliness. And then if I like them, then they'll come for a proper interview. So when I say a proper interview, I'll get them in. What I always do is I'll give them the questions first before we start, and I'll just give them 10 minutes to look at the questions and make their notes, because I personally don't think you get the best from someone when you ask them on the spot.
Okay.
I like it to be thought about. So if it's, say for a question example, tell me about a lesson where the children made good progress. To think on the spot's really difficult because teachers have taught so many lessons. Yeah. I want to have that thinking time so I get the best answer from them. I don't like putting people on the spot because I don't think you'll get what you need from them. So if they have that thinking time, I find that they've given me an answer they're happy with, but then it also means I'm not thinking about whether they've just thought of that on the spot. They've had the chance to really think about it. And if that's their best response for me, is it one I'm happy with, or is there another candidate that's better for that position?
Very good. Excellent. So it sounds like you've got a load of things that have gone really well, that you've done right. Is there one thing that you'd say, that's the secret to our success?
You know what? I people, again, I get this question quite a lot. Like, how have you been so successful? And for me, it's just actually never given up. Like, I think because I've been through quite a lot in my time, like I say, my time, in the past few years, I have been through quite a lot of challenges, like personally, but that then made me, it's like this grit, isn't it? And it's like, I really want to be successful for myself, and I want to be able to know that I've done every single thing I can to make that successful. And I think once your mindset gets into that, as in, I'm going to make it work and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there, I think then you start to see the success and it just makes you more hungry for it and you just want to get more and more. And like I say, the difficult times that have come, business, personal, they're never negatives for me. I always think at the time they are, but afterwards when you then look back and reflect on them, you think, actually, that was really good for me because it built, so much in you, whether it's confidence, whether it's resilience, whether it's independence, it gives you a lot that you need. I think you learn a lot more from the hard times than you do from the good times.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you pinpoint a particularly hard time that you've had in the journey so far?
There's been a lot of them. I think when it came to COVID and everything got locked down, I remember sitting there thinking, I've just started this business and I feel like it's over already. Like I thought I'd lost it. And I remember sitting there thinking, I refuse to let this happen. I'm going to make this a success. And I remember sitting there thinking, but how? Because I'm one of them people that have to have all the answers before I kind of make it. Now I do anyway, decision. But when it was COVID, I was like, there's nothing else I can do. And I remember I was sitting there with my mum and my dad, bless them. And I was like, that's it. I've worked so hard and it's all for nothing. And they were like, well, it can be all for nothing if that's the way you're going to look at it, or it can be for something if you do something about it. And that really, really did stick with me. And I thought, that's so true. If you sit around, it's not going to happen. You can't just wish for something. But if you put the groundwork in, and because we're in lockdown, there was nothing, I had nothing else to do where I could build this business and I could really work on it and have these ideas and write it all down. And now that's all come to fruition because of that time where we're all locked away and you had nothing else to do. I remember it was difficult for everybody, especially because everyone was so isolated. And now I want to give back to these students that have lost a lot of their education because of they've been locked down and they've got the anxiety and they've had depression and this, that and the other. And I want them to know that there's so much more to life than that. And I'm here to make you see it. And it's so nice because we'll have students that struggle to leave the house. Then they've managed to come here for sessions because we've started homes to, make them comfortable. Then they come to the centre. Then they've gone and done their GCSEs and they're off at college and all sorts. And that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't have dedicated the time to building them. So I think the hard times we've all been through as teachers and, as everyone in the world, it's made us want these students to have the best education possible because they've lost so much of it.
Brilliant. And my next question was going to be, what do you love most about what you do? I think you've just answered that.
Right there. Yeah, right there. Every single thing.
So what would you change if you could, if anything, what would you change?
Absolutely nothing. Right. Honestly, not a thing. I think everything that's happened and, all the hard work I've put in, all the, Pontiel and this, that, we wouldn't have what we've got now if I hadn't have gone through that. I'm a strong believer. Everything happens for a reason and it always happens the way it's meant to. Okay. So I firmly believe that, so I wouldn't change anything. Brilliant.
And what numbers do you look at on a regular basis to make sure that you're on track with the business?
So I've got quite a few KPIs that we'll have. We'll do them weekly and then I tend to look at them monthly. So we'll break it down into teachers. So how many available hours have they got? How many students have they got? That's a key one for me because I want, teachers to have the amount of students that they've got available. Yeah. That's a big one. We'll also have our products as well. So we'll have a target. So each admin girl who sells them, they've got targets that they have to try and hit each week for them. We'll also have our workshop targets. So we have how many students we can have per workshop. Again, we'll look at how many are booked on per week, depending on what ones are available. And then we'll also have sort of a profit one. We'll have our turnover, but I tend to look more at the profit side now. The turnover's steady. Just to kind of see how we're, peaks and troughs, how we're doing. But I find the majority that I look at is based on the teachers and their available slots.
Brilliant. So effectively their utilisation rates. Excellent.
Definitely.
Good. So you mentioned you've got a strong 3-year plan. What's the legacy that you want to leave with the business?
So for me, it's 100%. I want people to leave here feeling so much more confident and to know that they've achieved what they want in life because of us.
Yeah.
I think you can have all the education in the world, but if you've got no self-confidence, no self-esteem, you're not going to go far because what you've got in an exam, your personality, you could both go in for the same interview, have the same grades, or someone could even have better grades, but one have the personality and your people skills are so important. So for us, it's that holistic approach. I want students to look back, and I'm smiling because I already know some do, look back and say, I'm where I am because of Kelly's Heroes. That's the main thing for me.
Love it. And from a business perspective, where do you see yourself taking the business? And let's say if we're sat here in 5 years' time, what does good look like for you?
So the plan, I want a centre. At the minute, we've got this centre on Lowfell, but we're kind of at capacity here. There's no more space. So I would love to have a dedicated centre, a larger one, where we can offer one-to-one tuition. We can offer the group tuition. At the minute, with students sit their exams here that can't attend school, but we need an invigilator from school to be here. I would love to have a space where we can offer that ourselves so people can come to us and sit their exams, adult, 16, any age they can come and sit them. But then we can also offer the courses to go alongside them, the GCSE courses with that. By then, I'll be trained as a dyslexia assessor. Yeah. So we'll be able to offer that. We'll get asked that a lot from parents, but it's not something we can offer because you've got to have a specialised degree in it. So I'll be trained in that, so we'll be able to offer that. And I also would love so much is to be able to offer larger workshops and courses about self-esteem, about mindfulness, about keeping calm during exams. And navigating that growth mindset, that positive thinking.
Brilliant. Good. So what challenges do you foresee along the way then to get to that? What might get in the way?
There will be a few. There will be, definitely. Cash flow, 100%.
Yeah.
Got to make sure we've got that turnover coming through the door, making sure we've got the students here. I think as well, when it comes to any sort of move, people don't like change. They really don't. So for us to move, it has to be worthwhile, the move. So it's got to be somewhere that's close to here. It can't be far because the majority of our students are from around here. Things like parking and all that sort of thing, bus routes, I've got to think about all of that.
Yeah.
But then with that, I've also got to be able to find a space that can dedicate what I need to certain rooms. So for example, we can't sit them here because we don't have the space. There's quite a checklist you've got to have to be able to sit your GCSE exams, sort of like steel cabinets that are built into the walls and all these locks and things. We don't have the space, So I've got to be able to find a space that is available for that as well. But that's also making sure that, again, it's going to bring in the cash flow. It's not just going to be there to sit. It's about what more we could do somewhere else that we can't do here. That's going to grow the business. That's going to help all these students. But also I've got to think about the financials of it.
Yeah, brilliant. Good. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, Kelly, and certainly wish you all the success with those plans. Are you all right for a couple of quick fire sort of questions before we close?
Yes, definitely.
So if you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
Keep going. Don't give up.
Yeah, brilliant. Are there any particular learning resources that you'd highlight for other entrepreneurs, whether they be books, podcasts, or courses, anything that you found particularly useful?
The Northeast BIC, I want to say it's called. Jill, she helped me massively at the start of my business when I was really unsure on what to do and how to do it. I went to see her and she was fantastic. So I think anyone who's wanting to start a business, I would definitely go and speak to them because they give you such amazing advice, all free of charge as well. Yeah. And it helps steer you in the right direction. So I'd 100% recommend speaking to someone before jumping in.
Great. So someone, yes, all of the local areas through the LEPs and through the councils offer various business support, startup programs and things like that. Yeah. So hooking
Definitely.
into that, great. Very good advice. You mentioned that you're not a big apps person, but obviously you've got this app that you recommend. So what was the name of that again for the booking app?
It's Styler.
Styler. And are there any other apps or things that you found particularly useful?
There's all sorts out there, to be honest. We used Bookio before we used Styler, and that's for people that don't want to kind of go into an app initially.
I was thinking maybe not like Styler, but any other kinds of apps or bits of technology that you found particularly useful.
Things
you might have on your phone.
Well, Xero, obviously. I think everyone's got Xero, haven't they? Yeah. Things like that. Definitely, you want to make your life easy, I think, in business. So something that's worth investing in, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Now, you mentioned that your mum and dad have had quite an influence on you and on the business. Who would you say had the most influence on you as a business leader?
I would probably say, obviously, mum and dad, of course, but I would say Jill Middleton, who from Northeast BIC. She was absolutely fantastic. Brilliant. I definitely wouldn't be where I am in business without her help. She's been an amazing sounding board, and I think sometimes business can be quite lonely, even if you've got staff or not, because you're at the head of it. Having someone to sound like a sounding board for your ideas, who really understands business, it's so vital to helping you succeed and know you're going on that right direction. You're going the right way. So I would definitely say Jill.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. And I've got my dog barking in the background. You might just about be able to hear him. Good. And I think we've covered this before, but what is your most successful marketing tactic, way of generating new customers?
Well, this one's a bit different, but a couple of years ago, I got a billboard made. I know, it's really out there, by the Metro Centre, and I got it towards the end of the summer holidays, and that generated so much business, I couldn't believe it. So I paid, it was literally for 2 weeks as well, but because it was near the Metro Centre, it was the end of the summer holidays, people were starting to think about back to school. It brought in so much business, it really did, it was worthwhile.
That's interesting. So you got the timing absolutely right with that as well, by the sounds of it. Yeah, very good. I thought you were going to say the referrals, but that's great. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Very good. Fantastic. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, Kelly. It's been fascinating. If people would like to get hold of you or find out more about Kelly's Heroes, what's the best way for them to do that?
So you can download the official Kelly's Heroes private tuition app, but that's fantastic because it literally tells you everything that we do, how we do it. You could also visit the website if you wanted to, and that's got all of our information on. It's got our opening hours. It's got everything on there. But I would definitely say first point of call would be the app because it's got everything you need. Fantastic. Brilliant. Kelly Maxwell, thank you very much indeed for being my guest on ScaleUp Radio today. Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've loved it. I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.